With that being said, we can go to the fifth best defenseman in the league according to us, and he plays on the Carolina Hurricanes, and it's not probably the defenseman you're thinking of. It's another one, number 74, Jaccob Slavin.
Oh, hell yes. Jaccob Slavin. He's been one of, I think, hockey's best kept secrets for the past, I don't know, a few years now, but these past 2 years, especially with Carolina on the uprise, I think Slavin's kind of been getting the recognition he deserves. Jaccob Slavin, I think even before Dougie Hamilton got to the Hurricanes, like he was paired with Brett Pesce, and him and Brett Pesce were really two of those underrated guys in the league. And Slavin now, with the the lights, the action on the Hurricanes these past few years now with the Storm Sturge and them making the conference finals back in 18-19, Slavin's really, I think, been getting the respect he deserves in this league. Manages the puck probably as good as anyone in the league. The way he handles the puck, distributes it, everything. Defends extremely well, and I don't think anyone can take that away from him, how well he defends. He plays probably the toughest minutes on the Hurricanes, and he gets the toughest matchups every night, and he handles it extremely well. He's, his offensive numbers may not, they may not pop off the page, but he can chip in offensively. He's got some good skill. Like, I don't think people necessarily think of Jaccob Slavin and think of how skilled he is. But the guy had 36 points in 68 games this year. He only had 2 in 8 games in the playoffs, which, maybe was a little disappointing on his end, considering he had 11 and 15 the year prior. But, him and Dougie Hamilton have really created one of the best pairs in hockey, if not the best pair in hockey.
Yeah, I also had him at number 5, and I think you hit the nail on the head there with him and Hamilton becoming one of the premier defensive pairs in the league. And we look at Jaccob Slavin, and his offensive numbers might not be there. I like to bring up the primary versus secondary assists. They're both at 15, and then he had 6 goals to boot with that, which is the lowest of anybody remaining on this list. However, you look at his defensive stats and what he's able to do defending the play. Spectacular at defending the rush. Breakups when the other team is entering the Carolina zone. He's spectacular at that. He stops them better than almost anybody in the league. And as well, looking at giveaways and takeaways, he doesn't give the puck away a whole lot, but his takeaways, he had 81 takeaways in 68 games. That's by far more than anybody else on this list. The next is Victor Hedman, 47.
Mm-hmm.
And Jaccob Slavin had 81. And that's just, he does such a good job defending the play, defending it from his own zone, even just keeping the puck in the offensive zone, which is something Carolina really wants, because then they can get it up to all the offensive weapons that they have. And I think him and Hamilton are one hell of a defense pairing.
Yeah, I had him a bit lower on the list at 9, but just looking back at it and what you guys have said, yeah, I know it is disappointing, but the ways you guys said and how good defensively he is, I didn't really realize that until a couple of years ago, and a couple of years ago, I really, really wanted the Leafs to go after him because I kind of knew this guy was going to kind of break out somehow and be defensively as good as he was, and he was a plus 30 this year, which is incredible, and I really wanted the Leafs to get him, but unfortunately they obviously didn't, and now his price is probably the highest it'll ever be, and maybe even growing, to be honest, because with him and Hamilton playing a full year next year, if they do, holy smokes, that could be a defensive pairing that is going to be remembered forever. And Jaccob Slavin's defensive play, you guys already mentioned it, 81 takeaways, the most in the NHL, and there's a bunch of guys in the 50s, and he's in the 80s, so yeah, Jaccob Slavin, last year, he wasn't the greatest offensively, and that's not his game at all. His game is probably more defensive than offensive. So when Dougie Hamilton went down, he had to cover for the power play just a bit and didn't really fit the bill there, but his game is more defensive, and he's going to be remembered to be more of a defensive defenseman in the NHL, but he does it great. He does it on an elite level, and he gets all the credit where credit's due. We'll get off the Jaccob Slavin talk because there's another Carolina defenseman we have to get to in a few couple spots, but
the other Carolina Hurricanes defenseman, Russo, yeah. Do you want to start this one off?
I really do, because this is probably my favorite player on the entire list. Number 3, we got Dougie Hamilton. He was at number 1 on my list, and it's, maybe it's a little biased because he was on my favorite team for 3 years. But Dougie Hamilton, he's truly, truly one of the best, if not the best defenseman in the NHL. At least in my opinion, I do think he's the number one defenseman in the league. Yes, I'm still salty about that trade. And I will always be salty about that trade because it wasn't a good trade. But that I'm going to get completely off topic if I start going in that direction. Dougie Hamilton, even when he was on the Flames, he had a 44, a 45, and a 50-point season. He went to Carolina. I believe he had 38 in his first year, but he scored 18 goals. This year, 40 points in 47 games for Dougie Hamilton. If he didn't get injured this season, he would have won the Norris Trophy. And I will believe that till the day I die, he would have won the Norris this year if he had played the whole year. He's an upcoming UFA. He's going to get a lot of money. And I know there is some, thing where people don't believe he's good defensively or people don't believe he's strong on the defensive side of the puck, which is completely not true. He is strong on the defensive side of the puck. He's maybe not as strong as, maybe some other guys that we've mentioned or are going to mention, but he's still super strong. And his offensive numbers, his offensive metrics are off the charts. He's the best out of any other player in the league when it comes to creating offense from the back end. He's the best at it.
You said it perfectly. He's just such a premier defenseman, mostly on the offensive side, but for his size, he's one of the few that's able to skate as well as he is. We'll see coming off of the leg injury how he's able to actually rebound from that, but I think he should be fine.
Well, to be fair, he was great in the playoffs, to be fair, in those 5 games.
Yeah, he was. And I think Carolina will be one of those teams that just keeps growing and growing, gets better year after year, and I think Hamilton, hopefully he can stick around with that team because he fits really well there, especially with Slavin like we talked about. But I really think that he's in for a good year. I hope he gets a very good year, and I hope he sticks around because he's a fun player to watch on that team. He fits perfectly. He's finally found that fit. I don't care if he's a quiet guy. There's quiet leaders. A bunch of them are. Do you think John Tavares is a loud leader? No. He's a quiet leader. He does his job, and he does it really well, and the other people on the team follow him. I think Hamilton is one of those that, sure, he likes to go to museums. Okay, cool. He likes to have some sort of education, think his mind, and you can almost see it on the ice with the way he thinks the game. It's methodical, but he's able to keep up with his mind, and that's really what makes him special. He's able to think what to do, how to rush up the ice, where to pass it, where to shoot it, and it's one of those special bonds. And I think he's really gonna break out this year again. Will keep being really good, and hopefully he can stick around with Carolina because that's one really fun team. You guys have anything else to add? Because I think me and Russo have gone pretty long.
Yeah, no, just one more thing. I mean, Dougie Hamilton, one of the best defensemen in the NHL. That's no questions even asked. Top 5 for sure. And just playing 47 games and getting 40 points in those 47 games as a defenseman is pretty remarkable. Being a plus 30 tied with Jaccob Slavin and doing that. So they were combined plus 60, that pairing. That is insane to even think about. And they both add to that mixture. But Dougie Hamilton on the offensive side is incredible. Like Russo said, he plays a full year. He's probably in that Norris conversation, probably winning that Norris Trophy and taking it home. And he's probably ending up with 20 goals, plus 20 goals maybe even. He finished with 14. So there's no question that this guy's top 10 in the league, maybe even top 5 for sure. Maybe even 1, Russo, you can argue that. But yeah, I know that's your boy, and you have a little bit of bias in that opinion. But Dougie Hamilton next year, we could be looking at a monster season for Dougie Hamilton.